Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to HMP. I hope you've got your child in tow as we continue down the bloody path to hell. That's right, it's our 5th annual Lone Wolf and Cub review. I am your host, Adam Portress, and joining me today, he's the original basket head. Please welcome the Hartford Hellion, Sweet Sean's the Kovacs from the internet.
There is a surprising amount of baby wang in this movie that you didn't know was coming.
And he's finally got to see some fat, old, grumpy guy representation on the small screen. Bruce Leslie.
Hey, I'm a prickly pear, and me and that kid wear the same style of underwear. It's all covering the belly button, nothing covering the junk.
Nope, let it fly loose and free, baby, because today we are talking about Lone Wolf and Cub, Baby Cart in the Land of Demons. A mouthful if there ever was one, but... for whatever reason, 5 years ago at this point, I was like, you know what? Let's watch that first Lone Wolf and Cub movie. Obviously, a lot of folks have heard of Shogun Assassin, which is the kind of an American dub and edit of the first two Lone Wolf and Cub movies smashed all into one. So I was like, you know what? Everyone knows those. Let's look at the individual movies and stuff. So we watched the first one, and it just became an annual tradition here at HMP right around Valentine's time. We break out another Lone Wolf and Cub, and we are on movie number 5 at this point, which is crazy.
Yeah.
6 in total.
I'm so glad that we're revisiting another episode in this series because this is such a fun hang, these movies. You know, I think that the first one is legitimately like a masterpiece. It goes down in quality from there, but it's not like Godzilla, you know, where
it doesn't go that far down in quality.
No, but it is. But there is a decline in quality. It's just not. It's just so fun to be in this world for 2 hours. I really do enjoy my time here.
I'm just feeling kind of sad that we've only got one more left.
I know it, man.
Yeah, but you know, then we get into the Lone Wolf and Cub animated series, right? And then there's the babies version of it. Isn't that how these things all work?
Well, from what I read online this week, they're talking about making a new one.
I mean, didn't we?
Won't be bad.
Didn't we do that called The Mandalorian?
The Mandalorian, yeah,
yeah. Which was, well, honestly, I am so glad too that we started really reviewing these things 5 years ago before all the Mandalorian stuff. So we look at like we had our finger on the pulse just a little bit more than, you know, your average Joe probably did, because this is awesome and is so clearly. Inspired some Mandalorian stuff that it's so great. It made me so happy when they followed that kind of format and everything. We're just like, nope, we're going with these two boys on an adventure, and like, boy, we keep on rolling with that one. But before we get into all that, we do want to say a giant thank you to the people that support the show over at patreon.com/HMP. Those awesome people get pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone. Heck of a Dinger Zone this week. We talk everything from Fantastic Four to my particular problems with personality. It's a wide-ranging amount of topics over there in the Dinger Zone, so go check all that out. Help this show and get yourself some more stuff in the exact same time. We really appreciate all of you guys. And if you can't do that, for the love of Pete, just jump down there to the iTunes. Give us a 5-star review, a.k.a. Humdinger.
Humdinger.
We'd appreciate that. Buy some merch. There's some link for all of that in there. You could be like one of the strange people that buys some merch every now and then. It just kind of, there's a little blip right there, and you're like, what? Somebody bought something? Very cool. And if you do, for the love of Pete, just send us a tweet or something like that. Or what are they calling it now?
Send us a pic.
Send us a pic of you wearing the stuff. One of my favorites from back in the day was this was early on HMP merch. There was Maria, her husband Dan, and her son all dressed up in each little HMP gear and everything. Oh, it made my heart just jump with joy. So help recreate the joy in my heart by going to the store there. Pick up a little something, Patreon, whatever you want to do. Share it with your friend, man. That's all you got to do. Well, let's get into it. Here is the IMDb plot line, everybody, for Lone Wolf and Cub, Baby Cart in the Land of Demons. As we know, IMDb always 100% correct in everything they say and or do. 5 warriors challenge Ogami to duels. Each holds a part of the information needed to complete the assassination of the Mad Clan leader. That is the plot.
I like a succinct plot.
It's very succinct. It's some might say that's pretty much all of this movie is about, as a matter of fact.
Well, it doesn't even subplot.
I was going to say that's my favorite sequence in this movie is quick change. I love quick change Oyo.
But this is directed by Kenji Mutsumi, who he pretty much did all the other Lone Wolf and Cub movies. I don't think he did the last one, the one that was just previous to this, if memory serves. But he did. I know he did the first one, and I think he did the majority of them. So kind of a return to form for him. But he didn't do the last one, the next one in the series. So
yeah, do you know anything about that? Because I know that the comic book writer and creator of this, he wrote all of the scripts except the last one. So what's going on with that last one?
I'm not sure. I need to I've never actually, despite the numerous amounts of sales, I never bought the Criterion set of the Lone Wolf and Cub, which I would imagine would have some special features on it that talk about some stuff. Yeah. But none of those special features are available. All the movies are available on the Criterion's website, on their streaming channel and everything. But oddly enough, a lot of times, they put all the extras and stuff on the actual streaming site itself, which is very cool. So you can listen to the commentary and all the other little junky stuff. But this one doesn't have anything else included with it. And I don't know if the DVD is like that, but there's, at least that I could find in very tertiary looks, is little to no info.
I've seen a lot of interviews with the mangaka regarding the movie series and what he felt about it and the casting and everything. I don't remember that coming up at all, talking about why he didn't write the last one.
Didn't get enough of that mailbox money. He wanted some of it. He wanted a little wet his beak, and they were like, no. And he was like, all right, fine. I guess I'm not going to do that. Well, let me get everybody excited for this 5th installment of the Lone Wolf and Cub series, because this sucker's got everything. We've got Ito and Darigaro. I'm never going to say the names correctly, so we're always going to say Lone Wolf and Cub. They're never aging and never stopping, baby. By the way, this is the most video game entry to the series. Go there, fight a dude, get a clue, repeating to the boss.
Yeah, man.
Very much so.
We got face coverings out the yin yang. Is that racist? It might be, but I'm going to let it slide. Oh, but if you think that's a third rail, how about we've got a prince dressed up as a princess for some reason I've yet to fully really understand. Didn't have that one on my bingo card, but you know what was on my Lone Wolf and Cub bingo card? That's right, child nudity. Hell, these movies are practically, that's the free square that they give you in the middle just for showing up to the bingo hall. You know what I mean?
When you know what you're good at, you can stick with
darn
it.
tootin'. But don't worry, it's all in accordance with a public flogging over a pickpocket. Gather around, everybody. It's time I beat the snot out of this small child for not giving up the ghost. I hear this is what Denzel Washington watched to get ready for his Oscar run in Glory. Say what you will about the snitches get stitches, but this 6-year-old got the Michael Fate treatment. Don't mess around in Singapore, am I right, kids? Speaking of kids, you don't get attached to all the ones that you see on screen in this one, okay? Just letting you know in advance. We got stabbing, slicing, arms chops, head lobbed, pressurized Asians galore, fighting in water, a Lone Wolf and Cub staple. You got a baby cart in the title, so you know we got some baby cart action, blades, projectiles, and now skis. That's right. We pull the cart behind horses and sand, and that is rad as hell, especially since you know that they put that kid in there for real. This movie's got everything.
I got to say, it hurt my spine watching that kid get pulled through the sand on a horse, because he is in that cart.
100%.
Man, that kid was brutalized going through those scenes.
So when I was in the 5th grade, I traded my bicycle for this like little cart thing because it was fun to ride it down this big asphalt covered hill with like bumps and potholes and stuff. And that was a blast to me. So I think I would have enjoyed, I think I had a very similar rough ride to what that kid had being pulled by a horse.
I had one of those once where I was on a go-kart, and I didn't know how go-karts worked per se. Like, 'cause, you know, you got your gas on the right and your brake on the left. I didn't calculate that brake on the left portion of it. That was no good. So, like, I just kept going. And, boy, I ended up flying off a ditch until the point where it just was like, and you just couldn't go anywhere. And, like, that was how I learned that go-kart brakes go on the left side. You got to do that with your left foot. You can't, can't just do the right. That leads to crashing. Sorry.
Do you think there's any suspension in the seat that kid had, though? Do you think they had like a couple bungee cords holding his bench in place?
That kid was lucky if he got a pillow.
Did you see his head like flying around? There's no way. There's no way there's any kind of
I thought he was just really
acting.
I thought he was a really good actor, that it wasn't, he was moving that on purpose.
I was looking for a small child, or a small man that was like in there just to see like maybe a little mustache on a guy or something.
But it isn't.
It's a
Did
child.
you see Kenny Baker jump out and smoke a cigarette?
there's the I will say this about this movie in particular. I think in the last like one or two movies, you really do start to see the chemistry between the two mains, the Lone Wolf and Cub. But this movie specifically, there's the chemistry is complete. That these two actors, little guy and fat guy, they are like they are so terrific together, even when they're not saying anything. And that's how like, oh wow, they struck lightning with this. Because I think I could just watch them just hang out and do nothing, and I'd still be just completely fine watching that movie.
It's
Now,
there's
do
so
we
much
want to go in order with this, or do
Yeah.
we just want to start hitting hot spots?
Yeah, let's. I mean, if you've got an order.
I mean, I don't really have an order. I'm just trying to recall the way that the movie happened. But I think the first thing that caught my attention is I think that the big like flag with the coyote demon and the goat demon or whatever that is that's over their face, that's
Mhm.
gotta be, that doesn't help you any. Like, you already assume that this guy's a better sword fighter than you, and then putting a big handkerchief over your face probably doesn't help, does it? The wind's flapping that thing all over the place. It's not like a ninja mask that's tied against him.
It's not the wisest of fashion choices. I'll definitely grant you that. Also,
Keeps them from getting sunburned on their cheeks, though.
It's
it also feels like it's strange because they could just have this conversation. You don't have to get killed for this, my man.
Yeah, just give him the 100 Rio and let him go.
Give him his $100 and be like, by the way, the code for the next door is this, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But give him the next little bit of information. You ain't got to take a sword to the gut, my man.
It's amazing, too, that they kind of know instinctively where the previous guy died in the story, because they pick up pretty flawlessly. But, death isn't that predictable.
It is. To
answer your question, Bruce, it is so visually stunning to see that in front of people's faces, and they even mess with it with the camera, where you're seeing it from their point of view, and it's a wonderful sort of trick, for lack of a better term here, because I would imagine that this movie probably has half of the budget of the first movie. And you do sense it, but you don't sense it so much where you're like, come on, guys, are you going to do anything? So like the having the visuals that the director has in this film is really a boon to him, I think, more so than anything else, because watching it, you're never like rolling your eyes at how bad, like how little money is spent on this.
I mean, they do keep it interesting. They keep coming up with little visual tricks, visual cues. They got, nice spurters. So that's why I watch these, for the blood spurters. I love like, sea level, cheap drive-in practical blood effects. That's why I like some of the horror movies I like. That's why I like this. The one guy does kind of cheat, though, by keeping his flag tucked up under the brim of his hat.
what like, okay, we've seen Ito enough in these films at this point till we know that this guy is a rough customer. He's a tough boy, right? He doesn't take no crap. Like, we have seen this man walk into a room with a dozen people and just lay waste to everyone. But 5 seconds into this, like, hey, buddy, why don't you just drink this? He's like, well, that sounds good enough to me. Glug, glug, glug. Oops. It turns out, like, who didn't see this coming? You didn't see this coming, Mister?
Well,
Shogun's
he did
assassin?
see it coming, right?
He did see it
played
coming.
the old double reverse.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
Obviously, that goes there. But I am sitting there just going, like, this has got to be the dumbest dude that I've ever seen in my life. And then, of course, then he pulls your double whammy and then tricks us all. But I was just, it threw me for a minute, because I was just like, I can't believe this story just made this man this dumb.
I was just so distracted by the fact that he invented the thermos. I didn't know that the thermos was invented in Edo era Japan, but it was like great. I mean, do people still use thermoses? He invented the Stanley or the Yeti. I guess that's what people use.
Yeah, it's all the same crap, but it is hilarious. He just goes, all right, I've made this double walled thing. And here's, you're like, hold on, what now?
It's like he's still in the whole patent application here. So what you do is you do this, you do that, you stuff a little mud down in there, then you put this on the outside.
He did everything but break out the blueprints. Exactly.
I gotta say, I would have been thrown by that. Like, if somebody hands me a thing that is keeping my beverage warm for the first time in his entire life, like, I would have multiple questions after he hands me the thing. The first question would be, how long has this beverage been in here? How did you come up with this idea? What made you think of going double bamboo?
Now, I may be off on this, Sean, but you strike me as the kind of person that wouldn't be too keen in putting your lips on the nozzle after the other guy's lips have been on it.
Oh, sir, you know me so well. There's no way in God's green earth I'm putting my lips on that
You'd be like, I'm good. I don't really like tea anyway. You know, you have it. You worked hard on that. That's your tea.
He wouldn't even drink
about it, but
you're very that's how I would have done it.
In that respect.
You're absolutely right. That's exactly how I would have done it. You know what? I just had tea. Sorry, man.
I'm a coffee drinker.
He wouldn't have coffee out of a cup in my house. Could you believe that? He would just be like, you keep your cups to yourself. And I was like, all right, fine.
That's a lie. I drank out of your cups. I just pulled them out and made sure they were clean.
Not a bad move. Not a bad move.
Meanwhile, I grew up sharing bottles of pop with my friends on the street, so I figure I'm immune to most illnesses that come from filthiness.
I'm one of those people that like you drop a Dorito on the ground, just pick that bad boy up and eat her. You're fine.
Look, I'm a fancy man. Did you want me to say that? I'm a fancy daddy's boy. Is that what you want to hear?
I prefer ground Doritos to any other kind.
And we're disgusting people. We get it. It all adds up. And all of a sudden, the pieces are all falling into place, and we get it.
I was the kid. I'd find a French fry in the couch cushions and eat it.
Oh man.
I'm not do that. No, I didn't do that.
No, there's no way you did that.
But I can promise you, because
I would pretend I would.
I know you've done this because I did it as a kid and probably far too longer out. But if you found like a Starburst within the package itself, like within the still thing, you found that in the couch cushion, you 100% eat that. Yeah,
man, because you just got to peel it. It's got the rind on it. So
everybody
rind. Knows germs can't penetrate wax paper.
The rind, like it's an actual fruit that he's unwrapping.
80% of my fruit came in the form of Starburst growing up. That's why I got some of my problems.
Okay, let's get back. The whole pickpocket plot, I thought was
it's the best part of the movie.
This part, yeah,
best part of the movie.
We got to talk. I do just want to address that. Like the plot is that a guy wrote a letter that explained that his daughter is posing as his son, and then he sent the letter to like a Buddhist priest or Buddhist monk. I don't quite understand why the letter matters that much. And if it's so important, why did he write it in the first place? Because it sounds like the guy that wrote it doesn't want anybody to know about it. I think that would have been a problem you could have nipped in the bud, as some people would say.
Well, isn't there a line? He has a line of something like he was searching for absolution or something for doing this to his children.
Well, we do get to have a lot of fun with the various forces at play here. But the pickpocket just sort of randomly walks into the story because there's another lady who wants to give him $500 to kill a man, a woman, and a 5-year-old child. And at the moment,
that's way later.
Yeah, that's towards the end.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute then, because I've got some. I was really, my ears perked up on that because I was imagining we're going to finally see the little guy with the samurai sword in like a kid-on-kid sword fight, but we didn't get treated to that.
No. We get. Well, I mean, he's done some of these things in other movies. Sadly enough, this isn't like one of those. Oh, this is his first time doing this. No. This is old hat at this point. But yeah, the pickpocket story. So this woman is just like, I'll say this: she's pretty good at the pickpocket. She goes through. She's got all of her
assistant is just awesome. Was he in Hidden Fortress? This actor is just like perfect for the Weasley kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he's got to be a mainstay. Like, I've seen him in other stuff, Hidden Fortress, Jimbo, some like Kurosawa stuff. I don't know, but he's just like perfect for that. But then he has to go take a leak. And by the way, I would have loved once again to live in the days. Well, no, I would have hated to live in the days. It's something I think I would love, but when you're actually there, it's awful. Where people are just peeing like in the alley, like no consequences middle of the day.
Nope.
No, now listen. While not a fan of peeing in the alley, I will say this: the fact that we live in the year 2024 in America, where now I'm not talking like you do it in whatever, like a highly populated area, but the fact that you can't pull off on the side of like the road and take a whiz anymore is just unprecedented. I don't like it. I feel like that should be something.
Me neither.
I feel like that should be something that should be A-okay.
If you're in an unpopulated area, there is no reason why you shouldn't be able to do that.
Hey, people take number twos in San Francisco, like
right in downtown. So, you know, there you go. Happy birthday to you.
At least they did last time I was there. It's been a few years.
It's worse. So the lady is, she finally looks and pawns it off on this poor little kid, but like I'm surprised that she doesn't go like tell him to hide or anything. He just kind of just stands there like a goon and just holds it.
And she says, "Don't tell anyone I gave it to you." Now I understand if you give your word, you don't want to snitch, whatever, but this kid doesn't know this lady from nobody. He didn't agree to these terms. She just dictated them to him. He's his own man. He can do what he wants to, right?
But if you look
at the book,
but
he took it,
right.
So he entered into the life of crime. I get it.
Yes.
Okay, he's an accessory after the fact.
But he's also like, as we've seen throughout here, this is a kid who knows the rules all the time.
Yeah.
He understands the stakes of stuff. You just got to remember, last movie, this is a kid whose dad was sitting him down just as they're about to go, you know, there's a billion, like, so to speak, bombs going off around them and everything. And he goes, okay, so here's the deal. I'm going to go fight and I'm going to, you know, go whoop up on some people. And if I die, guess what? It's going to be your turn then to get out there and you start whooping up some people until you die. And this kid was like, straight up, got you.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, it was
at this point, this is light work for him, just not, you know, buckling.
The first movie where the kid gets taken hostage and they got a sword to his throat, and dad's like, "Go ahead. He's not afraid to die. He'll get to be with his mother. Go ahead. He's willing to die. He entered into this.
It's
like,
so hardcore.
He might be 3, but he can make those kind of decisions for himself."
I do have to say the thing about that kid too is he does have the eyes of an old man. So like, you know, other characters keep bringing up like his eyes. Oh my God, he's seen so much. Like the other characters speak to this, and the casting of that kid. I'm wondering if which came first, whether that dialogue came first or after they hired the kid. They're like, that kid's got the face of an old man. Like, I don't know what came first.
Well, I mean, the story existed before the film, so they had to cast the kid to it.
But I mean, you know, it's like, you know, with Iron Man, you know, you've got Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. isn't exactly the same as Tony Stark. You know, I mean, it's like the same, like it's that kind of thing where like, listen, we should lean into this while we still have this thing.
I like that you're suggesting that this is the Iron Man of naked babies. I like that. That's a t-shirt idea for you.
It's almost better than that because if there were 6 Iron Man movies, there is no way after watching the 5th Iron Man movie I would have been like, I'm ready to see the 6th one. There's no way.
No.
When there's so much to talk about when they actually start flogging the kid. First off, like all the people, like there's some out of town cop who's really pushing for results. And he's the one who really wants the kid flogged. You know, the local authorities are kind of anti-kid flogging. But the kid still gets up there to be flogged. And then we see that Ito is watching in the crowd. And I already know what Ito's internal dialogue is. His internal dialogue is a little flogging's good for a kid every once in a while. Like you know, that's what he's thinking.
Don't you say it.
It's
Don't
like,
you
my
say
kids
it.
flogged. People flogged me as a kid and I turned out great.
You know what I'm reading off his face, though, when he's standing in the crowd watching him about to get whipped, is that on his face is, oh, he's never going to say anything. Like Cub is never going to give them what they want.
Yeah, he's not cracking this kid.
But I mean, what I'm saying is that Lone Wolf, you can read it on his face, the actor's face, that the actor is playing it like he's never going to crack. Yeah. Do whatever you need to do with this kid. This kid is never going to do what you want him to do, and he's proud of it. And it's really great.
When they take the kid's robe off, what is up with that undergarment? Like, I know that different cultures have different values, but it seems like they really didn't want to show nipples and belly button on film, but they had no problem with junk in his trunk.
Let me tell you, the Dickie market in Japan is unbelievable. So high.
It's like my grandma's neckerchief is tied around his neck, covering his nipples and belly button. But like not a thing to give him a little support when he's riding in that buggy. You know, your boys might need a home when you're riding in something like that.
Everyone knows the nipples are the eyes to the soul, so you don't show them.
I mean, we're going ahead a little bit, but when we see his dad's underpants, really likes the cheeks out, man. It's like he is covered from nipple to belly button. He at least, thank goodness, has his junk covered, but the cheeks are right out there.
Feudal Japan had a lot of really hot seats.
Can I point out the disparity that the person who is dressed the way that Bruce is dressed currently has problems with the way that other people are dressed?
Isn't that funny?
Hey, I assure you that my underwear meet all cultural expectations.
Look, I would imagine it couldn't possibly
underwear.
It couldn't possibly be more offensive than your t-shirt.
I take it you're not a fan of ballet.
The kid gets whooped extra hard, but you're right though, Bruce. It is strange that the entire town has stopped on a dime to watch this small child be beaten about the back until he gives it up.
And then the lady
beaten. We got to get to the town square.
Hold on, what's happening? Let's see.
The lady confesses, and they're like, "No, not good enough. Let's keep beating the kid." Like the guy's really wanting to keep beating the kid, even if the lady. Quick change yo-yo comes up there and she's confessing her heart out, and he's like, there's a lot of pickpockets. We might need to keep beating this kid till some more of them show up.
So let me ask you a question.
Drum out all the pickpockets in the areas. You just keep beating this one kid till they all give it up and be like, all right, I'll stop doing it. Just quit beating the kid.
It's so effective it becomes a monthly sting operation. Beat the kid till the pickpockets come out.
So let me ask you guys a question. When at first it looks like they're about to whip him and she comes out just before they whip him, did you think there was any chance in hell that kid wasn't going to still be whipped?
Oh no, he was getting whipped 1,000%.
The second it didn't matter at all. I knew immediately. I was like, come out all you want, lady, cry all you want, throw yourself at the mercy of the court. It doesn't matter. That kid still get whipped.
I did not want to see that kid get whipped. I was pulling for any story out that would keep him from getting whipped, because I was a little worried. I don't know. Do you remember the horrible bloody flogging scene from RRR?
Yeah.
I was worried they might get a little graphic, and I just wasn't up for seeing the kid's back start bleeding, you know?
Yeah, luckily we didn't get too it didn't get too far in there. So like it was a good hard spanking. He didn't get a real honest to God beating.
And I wouldn't mind if his dad killed all the cops or something too. That would have been fun.
Can you imagine the Glidden red paint budget on this movie? Whew. My word, it's everywhere.
I love it. I can't reproduce a good spurter like they do in the samurai movies. I love it.
There's some spurts in here that suck though, but they're hilarious that they suck as well as they do, because they're
good, they're so bad.
When there's one where like a dude is kind of running away and he's trailing some blood behind, and it's so clear that they're just throwing it out there, just trying to do their best. I'm like, that's not how blood drips out of a body, dude. You're just throwing some. It's blood. Shut up. He's dying.
When can we start talking about this Wile E. Coyote plan to kill the monk?
All right.
Because this is one of the greatest things I've seen in the history of cinema. First, he does like the old Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer thing where he puts the little reed in his mouth. And he goes into the water and he's breathing through the reed.
First of all, I'm like, fantastic. I love the reed, and also the design. The fact that you've got like your single little green leaf hanging out there, so it also kind of draws attention. So it's not just one thing that's sticking out of there; it's two. So as the audience, we are like, that is your like, hey, here's your visual. Look at this. That's where that's going. Yeah. Very cool.
And then he gets under the boat, and he's got a device like, I don't know where you go to get your boat bottom cutter. But he has a specific device to like cut a hole in the bottom of the boat right underneath the Pope guy or whatever and pull him out through the bottom, and nobody knows any difference. That was just very Looney Tunes to me. I enjoyed it so much because I like that kind of thing, the over the top. And I just wonder where they got the inspiration for cutting the bottom out of the boat, dragging the guy down through the weird like can opener he used.
Oh, we saw that in Echo, didn't we? Wasn't that in... And then an episode of Echo where they're riding on the train, and then they just kind of they just made train into a boat. That's all they did. Or
and he's really good at holding his breath for a while, and gets the Pope out, kills the Pope, gets the scroll. But then there's something where I was like, "What's going on?" He's just like splashing around under the water. I don't get it. And then he gets up, and you see all the dead ninjas start floating up because he had an underwater ninja fight that happened entirely off camera, but it was like an awesome effect.
There's so many like little tiny moments and stuff like that throughout this entire movie. And one of the small little gripes that I have, is that I don't feel like the soundtrack is nearly as consistent as the other movies and stuff. There's a lot of dead silence in this thing that is like, it almost gets you to a bored point, and then something interesting happens on screen, and then you're just brought right back into it. All. I did not notice. There were points where it's just like, okay, we're like, it seems like we're just dragging on with the ominous sounds of nature and everything. It's nice, it's soothing. Yeah. One might say almost too soothing. And then all of a sudden, somebody's spurting blood out of their neck or something like that. So then all is well with the world.
Did you have any thoughts about the can opener taking out the Pope from the bottom of the boat there, Sean? I thought it was gloriously weird.
It's a very Bruce moment. I think that it's you've got to do something to convey what he did, and the only way they could figure out how to do it is to make it as cartoony as possible. They're very good storytellers, these folks making this movie. Yeah, like you know every step of the way what's happening when you watch this, and it could get really confusing because there's so many things that are foreign to me, there's the five people he's got to meet. There's some sort of blood feud happening. Then there's the pickpocket. Then there's the fact that like the kid isn't gonna, like, there's a lot of balls in the air, and they're really good storytellers. And so it feels to me the only way they could convey he's going to cut him out from the bottom of the boat is to make it look like a Roadrunner cartoon.
I loved it. And I also like that we get an extended amount of time where we get to see Ito with his hair down, because it's been pretty much in the top knot through most of these movies now. And he's got some glorious locks there. I'm glad he got to show him off a little rock and roll style. Because like in his everyday life, that actor's not going around in a top knot. So that's what he's looking like when he's hitting the Tokyo club scene or whatever.
He has that perfect look of disheveled. Like, he looks like he's been on the adventure that we've been watching him through 5 movies.
Yeah.
He just has that haggard look on his face of like, I have done this. I am walking around feudal Japan, just pushing this damn cart. We're just trying to get to hell, me and my son.
I never get the feeling watching these movies that, they just cut, the actor goes off set and walks 5 feet and then has a dart, I never get that feeling watching these movies, and especially with this era of film, and what the subject matter is and where it was shot. I get that feeling a lot when I watch old kung fu movies. Like, there's a cut, so they're all going to take a break now. Like it feels. I never feel that. It's kind of like the way that I feel about original Star Trek, is that, like, yeah, the sets are cool and stuff, but I don't for a second believe that those guys are in space, Whereas the suspension of disbelief of where they are and that these people are who they say they are is a testament to the filmmakers, because I never ever have that suspension of disbelief taken away.
No one's sleeping in a Marriott marquee in this movie.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I may be wrong, but I feel like he's got some of his biggest sword fights. Now, he's, in terms of biggest, I mean, like the most opponents he's taken on at one time with the sword. Now, he's taken on a lot of opponents and used tricks and gimmicks and stuff from the cart and explosives and things, but he's got a couple of sword fights here, which just him and a sword against like 15 to 20 guys. And I really enjoy that kind of stuff.
It's pretty close quarters with everything as well. Sometimes, though, this does get into a point where, and it's not just this movie's fault, this is like a martial arts movies in general, even, and action movies in general, I would say, is that, like, we get to a point where you got 58 dudes and they're versus one guy, and there's just people waiting in the wings. And it's like, all right.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah,
now.
Don't pan back, man. Don't cut back.
You got to
show us up close. That's the only way this is going to work.
You can't have Jeff over in the corner just going, I got my sword. When you're finished with that guy, I'm going to get my round
He's
in
like
here.
The background NPC that's just pacing back and forth, waiting to get activated.
Ooh, I'm going to get you now, sucker. Yeah.
One thing they do, though, that's kind of nice, again, they may have done this in the past movies and I just don't remember, but he's actually got allies in a couple of battles. So he has like his army against their army, and he has the guys.
Well, hold on. Let's go backwards here. So, because there's a lot to discuss on that last talking point you had, Bruce, which is that I think that when it comes to like all the swordplay and stuff, it's a little different this time than what they've done previously because he not only is like pulling out stuff from the cart, from the baby cart, which is basically his bat belt, but like he also like we've never seen a little knife that he pulls out of the heel of his shoe. We haven't seen that before. That's a new thing. We've never
True.
seen him kind of uh get surprised by an attack. We saw that happen in this one where the lady with the chains, I don't know what that
Oh
actual
yeah,
thing.
she pulled a little Spider-Man action on him. I'd kind of forgotten about that, but
And
she
and
won
she,
that matchup.
yeah, she totally got him, and he parried, and she stepped back. But it was one of those things where it's like I don't think I've ever seen him lose before, and he does in that scene.
And she's the same lady who erased the letter, right?
I believe so, but I don't know for certain.
Now, Adam, tell me, when you first saw that liquid dripping down on the letter, what did you think was going on?
I
there?
still question to this day whether or not that's pee.
Yes, exactly. I know
Listen,
I'm not the only weirdo. Now, Sean, you're too nice. You don't go straight to urine. But me and Adam, we see somebody peeing.
Listen, it was in a straight line. It was for each particular one. I'm just like, all you got to do is just,
I kind of thought we were going to look up and see the little boy peeing on it.
I did suspect that, like a little mischievous, like I'm peeing on the thing and it made the ink disappear. Yeah, I did suspect that.
Do you guys think that there was ever a letter in the first place?
Yeah, we saw it.
No. I mean, we didn't actually see the letter though.
We saw we saw the ink disappearing.
Yeah, that's where all the water comes down, and then that was the letter.
I see.
Yeah,
and then when it gets delivered, it's like, hey, it's got nothing on it.
Came from the ceiling.
Yeah,
I did not understand that part. Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple of weird
urine.
Yeah, well, and it's the lady in the ceiling who like that's what it felt like. That's what
if
it felt
I had
like.
a nickel for every time I had a letter erased by a woman up in the ceiling peeing on it, I would.
God, tell you what, just retire now.
Oh, this house has a lot of features. There's
darn drop
2.5 baths. There's 3 bedrooms. There's a ceiling lady.
Oh my God.
You're gonna see an Indian burial ground in the backyard. That's standard.
Oh, okay.
Oh man, you guys got to see the haunted swimming pool movie. That was great.
Listen, haunted swimming. Listen, that's it. That title alone sells me. I'm like, okay, what is this? What is this haunted swimming pool you've got here? I'll take a gander.
This is where our tastes vary.
I will watch something that dumb.
Yeah, you need to watch Night Swim.
Please sign me up.
I don't need to. I don't need to.
Yeah. Again, I want to just because it'll stuck in my head forever of this baby cart with the skis on it. It's just it's the most hilarious thing in this entire stuff. It is so dangerous because it's obviously real. Boy, oh boy.
How many of those carts do you think they have? Like, do you think that do you think it's like the General Lee where there's like 5 of them, or do you think they just keep having to mess with the same damn cart? And the poor prop team is like, man, this thing is just in splinters now. This is mostly glue now. This is all wood
the
glue.
Kid's crapped his pants out of fear a few times so it doesn't smell so hot.
I like to think it's like Dukes of Hazzard, where you ever see that shot where they had like 58 General Lees just all kind of piled up in general disrepair of some sort or another, and the whole idea was we're going to crash this one and then we're going to try to repair it as best we can so we can use it on later. And so I feel like that's probably maybe the same case here. It's like we got 15 carts. It's like Batman, it's like this one goes underwater, this one does the snow one, this one skis on sand.
I'll put it this way. I feel like they may have started with a lot of carts, but when a cart bites the dust, it doesn't get replaced. So they're probably down to 1 or 2 at this point.
I would think also because there is such a gap between the making of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There's a year gap there. I'm thinking that they probably were like, look, we're just going to make a new cart for this movie. Instead of going with the 2 or 3 that we already have. It's the only way I can think of that. Like if I'm on that team, that art team, that's probably the way it went down.
Then you've got old what's his face from Batman Forever redesigning your Your baby cart.
Schumacher.
Joel Schumacher redesigns your baby cart. It's neon as hell, and it's got all kinds of weird crap on it. Schumacher's baby cart.
I don't know why, but every time I look at that baby cart now, I think it looks so gay.
It's got a big giant fin on it. You're like, why is there a
suddenly
fin?
the little kid's robe has nipples?
Nipple rope. Listen, this movie's not. I will say this, at least. Okay, I mean, I don't know. I said at least. I don't know. That's the right term, but just at least there's only a little like slight uncomfortable kid nudity in this. There's not any other kind of awkward nudity. Well,
Adam,
you're right. You're right. The kid had a huge.
Once you got a toddler hanging brain, everything else is off the menu. I mean, it's like
yeah,
you've crossed that line.
Well, hey, listen, it wasn't.
You don't redeem the movie by not having an adult.
Hold on. Though, is that you can't tell me that this is worse than the breastfeeding scene
when he's bonking the lady's nipple.
The breastfeeding scene in the other one. Was that 2 or 3? That's got to be the worst one. That's the one where you're like. All right, what are we doing here now? What is
happening? He's like boops or booby. It's really, that one was really weird.
Yeah, that whole one is strange. It's like, all right, everybody, get like
chowder bucket. We don't say the B word here.
Yeah, and the whole like, hey, I'm not gonna, or she thinks that she's about to get assaulted and everything. I think that was the height of the uncomfortableness in this series. I think.
You're not wrong. I mean that is by far the most uncomfortable scene we've had in this series. Although I don't know about you guys. I haven't sing the last one yet.
No, there could be something. There might be a reason why the original director did not do the last one. I mean, we don't know yet.
But there is so much baby wang in this movie that it's like it's almost like that scene in the first Superman movie where you see Superman's baby wang, and you're like,
yes.
and you're like, holy cow! I didn't know that's what I signed up for. Not only do you have time to think, oh man, I didn't know that's what I signed up for. You have plenty of time for more weird thoughts in your head. That's how much it's on screen.
Yeah. You can have vacation time with this one. It's gonna take some because you're like, we're still. Yeah. Okay. Still. Yeah. All right. Okay.
There's enough time where the kid starts like messing with his stuff. But
it's not Back to the Future 3 bad, but
No, it's not that bad.
I promise you, if there was a mom in the picture, this wouldn't be going on.
Oh yeah, that mom was enjoying some sake over there in the corner. I'll tell you that much right now. She was just like, "Yeah, this is the greatest shoot my son's been on. We've done 5 of these flicks in 20 minutes. It's been great."
So this is, I have kind of an unfair question for you guys. Where does this stack up? This one in particular to the rest of the films to you?
I like it. I mean, it's not as good as the first one. But I think it's right there with the sequels. To me, I'm enjoying I'm enjoying the struggles that they're faced with and the solutions they come up for them.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I would not by a large margin, mind you, but I would probably put this at the bottom. But not to say that I didn't have fun with this one, because the majority of it that does, like I said, there are some moments in it that do lull out and everything, but you are brought back by enough violence that because at first it does feel like there's not going to be as much violence as there ends up being in this movie, which is good. And that's what you're coming to this for. You want to see Ito be down in the water and just kill dudes in like, weird, strange ways with like, awesome just re-editing of the same like water swipe through water and crap like that. I love junk like that. But
hold on. Let me say mine, my order, because one, of course, is the best. I mean, I think that's hands down. I mean, it is clearly a masterpiece. But I think that this one in particular is my second favorite so far, and the reason being because it's shot so cleverly. They clearly don't have nearly the budget that they've had in previous movies, and it's still the same level of, you're still watching the same level of movie as the other 3 films. And so to me, that's why I like it so much. And I know that's kind of an inside baseball take on it, but I think that's why I enjoyed this one so much, is that like Oh wow, you guys really don't have any of the you don't have nearly the amount of resources that you previously have had, and it's still really really good, and that's why I think it's my second favorite.
And
I
they
think
come up with some really off the wall stuff, and I love the off the wall
Yeah,
stuff. Drilling the hole in the bottom of the boat, the lady peeing from the ceiling, which not pee, but I'm going to call it that. Flogging the kid in the public square. Like there's enough off the wall that I will remember this better than a lot of the other sequels.
I feel like though I feel if they would have had more kind of musical stings, memorable musical stings and stuff, that would lengthen the longevity of this for me. Because, like I said, I think there's far too many lulls, and I like it. I've watched Terrence Malick films. I can take some long silence and stuff like that. It's fine, but that's not what I'm looking for here. I don't think. So maybe that could have
Did
been
you
dialed
see?
up a little bit more.
And did you guys? My favorite piece of set dressing in this movie is the two storytellers where he's singing a song while they're flipping, like it's
Yes.
almost like that, like that is an incredible piece of set dressing where it's like they're flipping a poster and it has another part of a new scene to it. It's not a puppet show, but
It's
it's
like a
kind
picture
of
book. It's like a
it's
big
like a
picture book, and they're using sticks and playing little music.
it's kind of like it's like a it's puppet show level storytelling, but so it's so clever to me. It's just so it's such a neat moment, and someone had to figure that out. How are we going to do this? And like we don't want to get puppets in here. We don't want to have to pay for puppetry. And instead they just made this thing, and it's so smart. It's such a neat little scene. It's 1 minute long, but it adds so much to the feeling of what it's like to be in that town.
Yeah, they've done a fantastic job throughout all of these movies with world building and everything, to where we can have a plot like this as silly as like these five guys along this route. You kill them, they give you another thing, you go to the next guy. That we just accept that at this point. We just go like, yeah, of course that's what we're doing.
And all the movies have had beautiful locations. I mean, I love the
Yeah.
locations, the verisimilitude. I don't know if they have like backlots for samurai movies or if they still just have like historically preserved villages. I don't know, but I love it. Maybe they're building them from the ground up. I don't know, but I love the locations.
I would imagine, and Adam, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I would imagine that they probably built this out with the budget from the original film, and they're just reusing those sets
Yeah, for the
in
most
those
part,
locations.
I would think so for the most part. But they are moving a lot, and that's one of the nice things about this show too, is that like we get so many different feelings. We go to a lot of different places where your snowy parts, your rivery parts, you're like they go all over the place. It's nice.
They've got really nice like trails through the woods that haven't been built up and don't have electric poles and don't have sidewalks and asphalt and stuff. I mean, they just got some beautiful locations.
True.
But yeah, like especially because like when we started watching this and everything, and then going into Mando and seeing those sort of parallels and everything. But at this point, having been like 5 movies into this and stuff now, it feels even more so like Mando, in as much as we're going back to a movie just like we would go back to a weekly episode of Mando and go, let's check in on the boys, let's see what's going down, and that's been a lot of fun.
Hey, is the guy with the white beard and like he's got like white pancake makeup on his face? I can't remember that
Probably
character's
the Abbott?
name. The guy,
No,
like,
not the Abbott. There's the guy that's mad that he's like watching from the side, and I feel like he's a villain that's been a through line in the movies.
He has, but and he's got the eye patch. Is that guy? Is he supposed to be a white dude?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. I know what you're talking about. I know the guy and everything. First of all, great look.
Yeah, it's spectacular. But again, that's kind of why this movie is secretly so great, is that like the visuals of this movie, they get so much with so little. It's so cool, man.
Yeah, and this doesn't even have like the giant, like for example, like the big one that I think of is like the waterfall fight from, I feel like it was the first one. It was like it's tough to really top something as amazing, just visual as all of that. But like when we can't do it with like, a crazy visual like this big giant waterfall and everything, we just start piling up the bodies and make that more. And you're like, okay, cool. I'll take it. I'm like, that's how you can trade off those things. It's like, if you don't always have the visuals, at least, chop up some dudes.
I'll say one thing that I found a little disappointing or underwhelming is when the guy requested to be killed by the wave strike or whatever, and they went out into the water.
Yeah.
They didn't really do anything very interesting with that.
Well, again, I think that's part of where like the budget thing, because you remember like I said, the first big water one, like that was like, oh, this is how Ito like really jacks dudes up, is this whole water fight thing and everything. But like when it's in the back, someone's back pond, it doesn't carry quite as much weight as this majestic waterfall in the background of like what is undoubtedly one of the coolest looking fight scenes ever put to film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to take my swords out in the Ohio River and make my own.
Yeah, just get out in any kind of dirty, dank, dirty old river and just kind of,
come up with a carp biting me.
Chop, chop, chop away. Well, before we get to our final review of this fifth movie, we have to ask ourselves how this fifth installment relates back 1-to-1 with our good old friend, Sylvester Stallone.
Why, thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Oh.
Hello, Mr. Stallone. We've been reviewing Lone Wolf and Cub movies for years now, and while I try to find different connections to you, it's difficult with movies that were shot in Japan exclusively by Japanese people for Japanese people over 50 years ago. So unfortunately, if you've heard a previous Stallone connection to Lone Wolf and Cub, this will not come as a surprise to you. What I'm about to read you is something that I wrote around the week of February 8th, 2021. I want to warn you, we're about to go down a rabbit hole. I believe this is what is generally referred to as post-ironic. A sarcastic black hole may open over your heads after listening, and all irony will be swept up in its wake. I wrote, "Hey, Sean, the last time you found the Stallone connection for Lone Wolf and Cub, I'd say the connection was tenuous at best. What are you going to do this week? And why does it feel like you're going to reheat the exact same material as last time?" There's a good reason for that. I am. So if you remember any of this and think it's going to take a turn sideways, you'd be wrong. It's going to be the same. And I'll begin reading it now. I've quit a lot of things in my life. I'm divorced. I used to be a comedian. I once quit a job selling motivational posters door to door after the first hour because, well, do I really need to give a reason? I'm selling motivational posters door to door. I don't know where the guy is who talked me into that job, but I hope he's dead and rotting in hell. During high school, I quit a relationship because after a month of dating, she said she wanted me to go to church with her. Who am I, the Pope? And I quit college because the professor told me if I was really lucky when I graduated, I'd get a job making exactly half of what I was already making at the job I already had. So you see, I'm a quitter. But one thing I will never quit is you, HMPers. You make my heart whistle like that bird Fred Flintstone's boss brutalizes, signifying the end of the workday. And that's why I dug. And I dug. There had to be a Stallone connection here. This movie was too big not to have one. Who cares that everyone directly responsible for making this movie died 2 years before Stallone ever made a movie? Who cares that the entire cast and crew, including the baby, never once worked on an English-speaking movie? That's not true anymore. There had to be something. So guess what I did? I asked myself, WWHD, what would HMPers do? And then I found it. You see, Sylvester Stallone was in a movie towards the beginning of his career called Victory, a movie where Sylvester Stallone insisted on doing his own stunts until he broke his hand. It also starred Pele and Michael Caine, which are a weird bunch of people to throw into a movie together. And when that movie got released in Japan, it was released by the production company Toho. And you know who produced the movie Lone Wolf and Cub, Sword of Justice? Toho. And there's your frickin' Stallone connection. So yes, I may have quit on college and Carmen Iezzi and a company that sells motivational posters door to door, but I won't ever quit you, and I never will. And there you have it, HMPers and dingalingers. This week's Stallone connection is the same as our February 3rd 2020 episode of HMP, which also is the same Stallone connection that I had probably around 2019, 2018 is my guess. Adam and Bruce, this was our. Oh, I'm sorry. Nope, I totally messed this up. See, this is what happens when you go down a rabbit hole. Still no word from Sylvester Stallone. End quote. Now I go to the rest of it. That's right. I've used the exact same Stallone connection 3 times in this series of movies because the movie we reviewed this week is 50 years old. It's the 5th installment of Lone Wolf and Cub. And if you have any complaints, please send them to heromoviepodcast@gmail.com. I'll never read it. I won't even know that it's ever there because, as I've already told Adam previously, I don't want to know. And there's your Stallone connection this week. I hope to hear from you soon, Mr. Stallone. Your pal, the Hartford Hellion. That's 3 different endings I had to read.
Oh, wow. That's the Inception.
Inception.
Tone. Just going like, and it's all this one and this one and this one. And by God, you think you know what's going to happen next year? I don't know. Anything could happen. Anything can happen between now and then. That's a whole year's worth of time. It's a leap year, too. We got an extra day in this one. You think about that one? No, the hell you didn't. All right.
There's moments where I'm speaking to Stallone, that I'm speaking to HMP directly, that I'm speaking back to Stallone. It is not easy.
And there's a metaphorical people in my brain. You know how it all works. All right, let's get down to it. Here at HMP, we got our own patented Robin rating system. Bruce, where does Lone Wolf and Cub, a baby cart in the land of demons, fall on the Robin rating system for you?
Perhaps the most memorable entry, at least the most memorable sequel, and that goes a long way with me. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I never really minded some of the musical issues that you had with it there, Adam. I thought that the low budget maybe worked as a plus, the lower budget, because I'm really drawn to people who are doing something and I know they have to really go out of their way and work hard to make this, and it looks like this, and it's just got a certain fun to it, while things like Basket Case and Brain Damage. This is a solid Tim Drake. Yeah, I would recommend this to anybody who likes samurai movies. You got to watch this.
Yeah.
You hear that, Christopher Nolan? Bruce says, you got it easy, sucker. Sean?
For me, this is the highest Tim Drake I can possibly make it. It is such a great hang. Just let this sucker wash over you. And if you really want to start getting into the nitty gritty of it, you're going to be rewarded for that too. It's just so fun to hang out with our friends again. As I said to you during the pre-show, Adam, this is one of your best finds, this entire thing, and it's just been so fun from beginning to next year we'll hit the end of this, and I don't expect it to be as fun as this movie was. It couldn't possibly be.
It's tough,
but it's gonna be. It's going to be good to end this series and have seen the whole thing.
Hey, listen, they didn't fall off quite like Fast and Furious films have, so you got that going for you. We made it to number 5, and he doesn't want to. Yeah, that's true. We still got 2 more.
And we never will.
I think that's what the Patreon votes for. No, wait. I wouldn't do that to people.
In Sean's mind, the worst thing about the pandemic is he had to watch Fast and Furious.
Man, it's up there. It's up there.
It's like it makes the Mount Rushmore. It does.
And let me tell the listeners this now. If you ever vote for having to ever see another Fast and the Furious movie again, enjoy your death trap, ladies, because I am not going to be hanging out there. That week I will be mysteriously off.
For me, this is a Tim Drake. Despite my little quips and stuff with it, those specifically are what they were, just little quips and nits and to pick and everything. But I like this movie a whole bunch. I like this series a whole lot. And a lot of it rests on the shoulders of these 2 leads, and they're absolutely awesome in it. And again, like we keep saying this, you want to go back and see where this adventure keeps going and stuff, and that's the thing that we like about Mando, is that we get that little bit, and you're like, oh, these 2 guys on this adventure, and then we come back next week and see what other cool thing that we're doing, and I'm glad that we get to do that for at least one more of these, and then carry on in spiritual Star Wars fashion, then I suppose from that point on. But that's it, everybody. 3 pretty good reviews here, so for the 5th one in the series, not too shabby.
Mm-mm.
Well, that will do it for this episode of HMP. We're going to be talking about what we're doing next week in just a moment. Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
You know, I don't have a whole lot to talk about this week, so just go to Shudder and watch The Last Drive-In.
All right. Well, Sean, what else? Anything to yap about? What are your Super Bowl predictions?
We've got that other... Say what?
So what are your Super Bowl predictions?
I never bet against Patrick Mahomes. Their team is worse than the 49ers are on the whole. From the second man to the 52nd man, the 49ers are a better team, but never ever bet against Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. That's my prediction. We have another podcast that we do. It's called 30 Questions. And if this is your first time listening to our show and you enjoy this, we do a different format show where if there's something that is an episodic, we watch those episodes and we review them week to week. And you can see us just flailing wildly with our guesses on where each show is going.
It is amazing. Like, you could go back and like listen to a lot of those stuffs, like, you know, and listen to what we were thinking in real time and just like see how vastly wrong we were about 99% of the thing. Every now and then there's like ooh, you did that one, but a lot more zigging than when there was zagging, that's for sure.
Yep. So please listen.
Yeah, check all that good stuff out. That is it, everybody. Next week, we are talking... Now, this one has been on the docket for some time. I think Bruce had originally brought up that he had seen it at some point, and then, we were looking for it. You couldn't find it anywhere, but our fine friends over at Tubi, and, of course, the people over at patreon.com/HMP were the ones that hit me to it, is Hero for Hire, starring John Ritter.
Nope.
What?
Hero at Large.
Hero at Large. Hero for Hire is Luke Cage. I guess that's what I'm used to. I guess I'm used to saying that. Hero for Hire. That's right.
Hero at Large.
Hero at Large. What? I wrote down Hero for Hire. That's what.
To be followed by the classic Condor Man.
Yeah. So don't go to the wrong thing. Go to the John Ritter film, Hero at Large. So that is available right now on Tubi. So join us next week for that one. That is it, everybody. Join us next week when we talk Hero, what is it again?
At Large.
Hero at Large. Boy, I really wrote that wrong in the script. Hero at Large, available on Tubi, the one to watch for Tubbies. That was a bad joke. Would have been a lot better if we wrote it correctly. For the Hartford Hellion, Sweet Shanta, go back to the air. Bruce, let's see. I'm out of Porch. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie.